My name is Michael Anderson, Mango Mike Anderson, and I'm from Alexandria, Virginia. I'm currently a restaurateur in the city here and have been since the early 70s. So I've lived in Alexandria since 1972. I moved here right out of college. Originally, I'm from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, just outside of Pontiac, Michigan. Grew up there. I went to school in Michigan, and right after my roommate and I from college decided that we wanted to kind of take a year's sabbatical. And before we all both had jobs lined up at Ford Motor Company, because in Michigan everybody goes to work for the big three. So I was supposed to go to work for Ford, and we decided to take a sabbatical and move someplace for a year just to get some different experience, to move back to Michigan and continue. So we got newspapers from 10 major cities around the country, and DC seemed to be the most exciting area in the country at the time, had the lowest unemployment rate, was close to the shore, wasn't that far away from Michigan, and we'd heard about this little town called Alexandria, which is border DC, and we thought, well, let's move to Alexandria for a year. So we never went back. Well, Alexandria, we were just in Michigan. We knew nothing about the area. Kind of picked Alexandria just because of its geographic location to DC. Had no idea about its historic significance, its background, and we were pretty amazed when we moved here actually, and view the city and Old Town and the location of the Potomac and the proximity to Washington. And we thought, man, for picking something but basically throwing a dart at a map and picking Alexandria, we've won the lottery here. And the more time I spend in Alexandria, the more impressed with the city I am. My passion, the restaurant business. I'm really blessed because I love what I do. I love getting up, going to work in the morning, and it's kind of funny growing up in Michigan, and in high school and in college, and going to all the guidance counselors. Nobody ever told you that you could get a job where you enjoy going to work. Everybody told you that you had to have a career, you had to provide for a family, you had to pay your mortgage, you had to be, a good person in society. But nobody, at least back in the 50s and 60s, said, hey, you can have a job, you like what you do. And I came to DC from Michigan, stumbled into the restaurant business. I started at the King's Landing, which is now 1972, which is now Union Street. And, I just started there, and I really liked the business. And much to my parents' chagrin, who want me to go back and go to work for Ford Motor, I stayed with it, and I've really enjoyed it. Can I keep on expounding? Does it matter if I ramble on here? And to that end, I've really, I've met some great people in the restaurant business, and I've had some pretty good mentors, among which was Gordon King and Jim Kimsey. Gordon King and Jim Kimsey owned both of those up Capitol Hill and a couple of places in DC, and I worked for those two guys for about 4 years. Jim Kimsey went on, of course, to co-found AOL, so he kind of, he got his start in the restaurant business, and moved on from there. He's done pretty well for himself. But I've had the ability to get my family involved in the business. And that's been, working with your kids is a pretty neat deal. Because first of all, you're on a different dimension with them than you are as a parent-daughter kind of relationship. But working with your kids, and my kids, at least one of them has kind of fallen in love with the restaurant business, and she got an MBA in a small school in Michigan, has gone on, and now she's the new general manager of Mango Mike's, who just took that deal over in September of 2013. My wife, who was an ex-nurse, has fallen back in love with the restaurant business, and in her early nursing days, she used to work at Chadwick's, and now she's going to give me some competition. She's getting ready to open her own restaurant by the Carlisle project called Sweet Fire Donna's, and she claims she's going to go up there and kick my butt and barbecue. So we're all encouraging her to do that. My youngest daughter works at the sushi bar in Del Rey, and I don't think her restaurants aren't her passion. She'll move on to something else. But and all my kids have worked in all my joints, the beach restaurant, Mango Mike's, their whole life growing up, and that's really been a cool deal. It's just it's really neat working with your kids and seeing them in a whole different kind of professional environment where it's it's you're coworkers and you're not father daughter kind of deal. Um, but I enjoy the business. I love the challenges. I think I've owned more restaurants in the city of Alexandria than anybody else in the history of the city. Not all of them were home runs by any means, but I like doing business in the city. I might complain about the special use permit process that's rampant in the city, but I think overall the politicians and the BAR and the SUP process has really has generated a pretty good environment for the business community and the residents of the city. And as you look around, if you travel to Annandale or Arlington or McLean or Springfield, and you look at those communities and you look at Alexandria and you say, what community do I want to live in? What community I want to do business in? And I'm real happy here in Alexandria. In 1972, my roommate and I from college, the Golden Kazoo, at a random, throw a dart at a board, at a map, and pick a city, moved to Alexandria. Um, I was searching for a job, and I had worked as a busboy when I was in high school, but other than that, no real restaurant experience. And so I was living at the Virginia Lodge, which is down Route 1 south of Beltway, which is not the Hilton by any means. And there was a guy living next to me, Luther Burbank McKean, who was, according to him, a restaurant designer. And I was kind of surprised to see a restaurant designer living next to me at the Virginia Lodge. But he said, look, I just got done designing this French restaurant for three young guys in Old Town Alexandria called the King's Landing. I heard they're looking for some staff. I said, well, great, I'm going to go down there. So I went down the King's Landing and knocked on the door. This young owner came to the door, and I said, hey, Mike Anderson, I'm looking. I lied to him. I told him I'd been a waiter before, looking for a job as a waiter. And he said, no openings. And I thought, well, I really need a job. Didn't have any money. And I said, well, how about busboy? And he said, no, I got that covered too. And I turned to leave, and he said, but wait. He said, I need a dishwasher. And I said, well, I got to tell you, I left Michigan in much fanfare, and I'm a college graduate. I can't wash dishes. I need to find, I just can't do it. He said, no, take this job, and I'll promote you as soon as I can. I said, and he kept on beating me up about it. And I said, okay. So I showed up that night. I brought my diploma, and I hung it above the dishwashing machine back in the kitchen, and I started washing dishes. My first job to King's Landing on Union Street there, which is now Union Street Public House. And I got to tell you, I was pretty depressed because I really, I didn't think a college graduate was going to end up this way. But I was back there washing dishes, and towards the end of the shift, this waiter came back in there, and he said, hey, my name's Rob Zimmerman. He said, King's Landing, we take care of our own. He brought me a beer, and Rob was like one of the first, Zimmy was like one of the first real people I'd met in D.C., and ended up by moving into Golden Kazoo, and I moved in with Zim into his apartments off of Beauregard Street, and I moved out of the Virginia Lodge, and Zim was like one of the first guys I've met in D.C. And so I'm working at the King's Landing to become a busboy, and I get promoted to a waiter, and I worked there for about 6 months, and I go, I really, this is not too bad, I kind of like doing this, and I think I want to stay in this. And the guy, one of the three owners of the King's Landing, Brian McMahon, he used to manage one of the first saloons in D.C. on 19th Street called the Aeroplane. And he said, you know what, they're looking for a general manager of the Aeroplane in D.C. And why don't you interview for that job? And he talked me into going down, and and I didn't really have any management experience, but I knew I really liked the restaurant business. And so I went down there and had 4 or 5 meetings with the owner, and was able to talk myself into the job, and took over the the aeroplane as the general manager, and just have been in restaurants ever since. I've worked in just a whole slew of places in D.C. and Alexandria, and but it just kind of tickled me that how much I enjoyed the business. My buddy Zim went on with another guy who worked at the King's Landing, Ben Benson. They opened up Ramparts in Alexandria in 1978. And 1975, I opened up a couple other guys with the Golden Kazoo, and opened up Joe Theismann's in Bailey's Crossroads. And then in 1979, I opened up Shooter McGee's with the guy Tom Jackson. So, and Zim and Ron and all those guys, or Ben Benson, we're all still friends today. Ben Benson went out and opened up Southside 815 in Old Town there, and it's very incestuous. All these guys in the restaurant business are all kind of branching out, doing different things and overlapping. And I ended up selling about Ramparts from Zim years later, and then turned around and I sold Ramparts 6 years after that back to Tom Jackson, who was my partner in Shooter McGee's, and it's a big shuffleboard. But I just got lucky. I'm glad I didn't go back to Michigan. Enjoyed the restaurant business. I maybe could have made more money in other endeavors, because first couple of decades I didn't make a lot of money in the restaurant business, but everything's working out now. It could have gone. I'll tell you what, it could have gone. It could have gone a number of different ways, and I spent 3 years down in Southern Maryland at a place I got called the Old Port Inn, and that was just 3 years of hell down there. And again, I went bankrupt that deal, and had I been married, none of these things, I would have had to take a real conservative. I'd have gone to work for Marriott or Imagine a Burger King or God knows what. But it's just amazing how you travel these. You go down a certain road, and you come to a fork in the road, and why you go left or right? You flip a coin, and you go left, and then you stumble upon a certain person that has some effect on your life, and they send you down another road. There's another fork, and you flip a coin, and you take the right path, and then that path leads you to another person, another opportunity, or a woman you end by marrying, and it's just amazing, the twists and turns. You couldn't plot that out for me, where I've gone from point A to where I am today. It was unplottable, but here you are. And I'm sure a lot of people said the same thing. And I think you've got to take those opportunities and just run with them. And I think it's really important that you always give it 110%. And if it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be. And don't lament it. Don't cry over spilt milk. And just go on to the next opportunity, because there will be another opportunity down the road. But it's always real important that you give that 110%, because if you don't, things aren't going to work out. And a lot of things I've had restaurant deals that I thought that would try to buy a certain restaurant that I thought was going to be it. I was so excited about it, and it fell through for whatever reason. But I'm glad it fell through, because the one I found after that was so much better than that one, and a better deal. And you don't get me started on dating and women and who you end up with that deal, because that's unrecordable. But I got lucky and certainly married the right woman. Been married 25 years now. Got 3 great kids, and I couldn't be happier. I've always been asked who inspires me, and I've had a lot of mentors in the restaurant business. And this is going to sound kind of corny here, but I have to say it was my mother. My mother has been a huge inspiration in my life. She was a an undying fan. I could do no wrong, supported all my endeavors, all my crazy ideas, all my early entrepreneurship, and it's amazing that woman's impact has had in my life. And she's been she was terrific. But Mom, thanks very much. One reason why I think I was successful in the restaurant business is that I got married late in life, and you wonder how those two things are tied in together. But the one of the most difficult, one of the most challenging things in the restaurant business is always capitalization. Pull enough money together to make your deal happen. We had in my early years, we had a number of failures. Things didn't work out. Wrong location, wrong concept, undercapitalization, whatever. Had I been married, uh, I would have had to taken, and I had a family, would have had to take a whole different course. I think I'd have taken a more conservative course in my entrepreneurship because I wouldn't have been able to take a chance on something and not be able to support my family. My dad came out of World War II. I was a baby boomer. He didn't have the ability to take a chance on something. He had to right away get a job, which he didn't like, but he didn't complain about it. But he had to support a family. I was lucky I didn't get married till I was 40, so I was lucky enough I could take a lot of chances. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. So that by the time I did get married, things were kind of on a pretty even keel. And that coupled with having a real supportive wife made just a huge difference. And that was a huge part of my success was the fact that I had support from the family and my wife and some of the crazy investments we made and endeavors we made to make these restaurants happen. She was totally supportive. And without her, none of this would have happened. And I'm tickled pink that she's on the verge of opening her own restaurant, Sweet Fire Donna's. So, the kind of the legacy continues. I'm inspired to do what I do with the community. I really believe that you're a product of your environment. I'm just an average guy that moved to Michigan and happened to pick Alexandria to move to. And this town, with the number of people that are engaged in this community on all different fronts, on business fronts, on social fronts, on charitable fronts, you just that rubs off on you, and you can't but help to get involved in this community because of that osmosis process. And in my years here, my 40 some years here, I've met a whole lot of people that have really influenced me. And you can't but help to get drawn in to do things for the community because you see so many people around you doing the same thing. I mean, people like John Porter, who's very involved. You got Val Hawkins, Charlotte Hall. Just you got the woman down at the Delray Mafia who've really taken Delray and turned that thing around. Pat Miller and Gail Reuter and those folks down there. So I think if I had moved to any other community, if I'd moved to Chicago or moved to New York, I don't think I would have been half as involved in the community as I am now because of the influence of all these folks in the city. Yeah, I'll tell you about that, how that came about. We John Porter's a good friend of mine, and he's head of this Act for Alexandria, which does a great job of help corralling all these nonprofits. And I think there's 126 in Alexandria alone of nonprofits. And when we opened up the Holy Cow, the burger place in Delray, we had been influenced by a restaurant up in New York City that had come up with this deal that you could name your own burger and create your own burger and name it, and then you would tie that burger into your email address. And for every burger that restaurant sold, they would send you 25 cents as a royalty on that burger. And And the benefit was we thought, well, you're going to tweet and you're going to Facebook about your burger because you want people to go in and buy that burger. So you're going to get your 25 cents. And we thought that we loved that kind of, that customer engagement. And then we got talking about it. My partner, Bill Blackburn, and I, we got talking about it. And we thought, instead of giving that quarter back to the customer, why don't we give a quarter to a local charity? And we got John Porter involved, and we had a real brain trust deal, brain meeting with John Porter, and John Porter liked that idea, and we said, look, we're going to give the customer a chance to give a quarter that we'll pay. It's not the customer's quarter; it's our quarter, to pick a charity of its choice. But we didn't want to write 120 checks every month, so what we did is we write a check every month to John Porter, and then he distributes those funds to the 120. So what we've done, and we thought some people would look at it as kind of a gimmick or whatever, but people really got into it, and some people spend way too much time looking at the list of the 120 charities to figure out who to give money to. But it's really taken a lot of charities and nonprofits that didn't have any, or had very little kind of street presence, and gave them kind of street presence in the community with this deal. And we keep a running chart on who's the top one, who's making who's getting the most quarters and stuff, and that's worked out. That's been a pretty cool deal. And does it bring more people in? Do we sell more hamburgers because of it at Holy Cow? I don't think so. And I'm also really pretty amazed on how quickly those quarters add up. We thought, oh, what's a quarter? Man, we're writing some pretty good sized checks to John Porter to hand out every month. But people are really into it. The nonprofits are into it, and it's been a kind of win-win deal for everybody. Whoever wants to, if you want to make a difference in the city, all you have to do is get involved. There are so many great opportunities to get involved in, between the business community, the political environment, the nonprofits, the charities. You just got to figure out what pushes your buttons, and they're not always looking for you to write a check. They're just looking for some of your time. But you're gonna find out that a big byproduct of this thing is you're going to start meeting a whole different set of people that you won't meet in your own sphere. And when I got involved in the Chamber of Commerce, I did it as an ability to kind of promote my business. But I found out that although that helped, what the Chamber of Commerce really did was introduce me to a whole group of very savvy, hardworking, interesting people that were involved in the Chamber. And I met just a slew of new friends, people I would never meet in my day-to-day restaurant experience. I get to meet through the Chamber. So I've been involved in the Chamber for, I don't know, 15 years now. And it's been great. So if you want to get more involved in the city of Alexandria, do it, but you're going to be surprised at kind of the byproduct of that involvement. You're thinking that maybe I was going to get involved because I want to donate some time to charity. But you're going to end up by finding out you're going to meet some new people, new experiences that you would never stumble upon in your day-to-day life. So it's an incremental thing. It's an incremental thing it will serve you well. My girls started the restaurant when they were like about 10 or 12. And they were running hush puppies, and my wife got mad at me because when they did start, I made all of them work in the kitchen, and I thought it was important that they work side by side with all the group in the kitchen, because the kitchen team, those guys, that's hard work back there. It's hot, it's hard work, and if you've done that, you really appreciate their effort. And then when we become a waiter or waitress on the floor, or a bartender, you know what those guys go through. And so I've made all my girls go back, and they've prepped in the kitchen. They've worked side by side with the Latinos and whoever's back there working. And that's been a great education for them. And I think they certainly appreciate what it takes now to be in that business and all the moving parts and stuff. So they've all three of them, and two of the three are still working in the restaurant, and the third one, who's going to graduate, this year from college, has worked every summer in one of the joints, and I'm sure this summer, hopefully, she'll come back and work one more time. If I'm up there at that great restaurant in the sky, and I'm leaving some words for my girls down back in my girls, my wife down in Alexandria, and I would just say, you're gonna you're gonna spend a lot of time at work, and you need to make sure whatever profession you go in, it doesn't have to be in the restaurant business, but whatever direction you take, make sure it's something that you really enjoy doing. And don't do it for the money. The money will always follow, but do it for the job satisfaction. Be excited about getting up in the morning and going to work. Um, be excited about your accomplishments during the course of the day, and get involved in the community. Um, and getting involved in the community and getting involved in these nonprofits and doing work within the community doesn't mean you have to write a big check. It means you want to look at incremental gains and incremental participation on your part in these different charities and business alliances, the Chamber of Commerce. You want to be ingrained in the fabric of the community. It's really important. And it's not a big thing. You don't need to be chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. You don't need to write a $10,000 check to, the Campagna Center. But you want to build these grains of sand during the course of the year in your involvement, so that at the end of the year, you've got this mound of sand, and you've accomplished this during the course of the year. And I think that's the important thing you need to do. And you need to have good principles. You need to have good moral character, and you need to figure out the right thing is, and do the right thing. I guess I'd like to be remembered as just I'm just an average guy who happened to pick the right city to move to. Met a lot of great people. Was able to open a couple of pretty good restaurants. Uh, Raised a good family. Um, Promoted, helped promote business through my association with the Chamber of Commerce, and supported a lot of good nonprofits in the city. And I'm not looking for fame and fortune. I've just I got three great girls. They're going to hopefully continue the legacy with the restaurants, and I've been real blessed. I just remember as a pretty good guy. Mango Mike was a pretty decent guy. The Living Legends program, as I said, there's a lot of committed people in Alexandria, and they never cease to amaze me to their commitment. And I'm very involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and I've met a lot of the nonprofits through our involvement with the restaurant Holy Cow. But you really get kind of limited into the number of folks that you meet, and anytime you have an ability to kind of expand your scope of folks that are important to the community, you need to kind of avail yourself of that. And I think the Living Legends program has done that, because there are really some fascinating people out there, people that are on the legends for this year that I had never heard of before, but you read their bios and what they've done for the city, and they go, man, that person's pretty cool. They've really done a lot. How come I haven't met this person before in my travels? So I think from that standpoint, it's bringing a lot of these good folks out of the woodwork that are maybe, they're below the radar because they're not in the business community, they're not involved in the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, they're not a politician, but they're doing their part to make the city a better place. And the Living Legends program gives us an opportunity to experience those folks and hopefully chat them up before they pass on. If I come across somebody who had not heard about the Living Legends, I would just say it was a pretty innovative program. You get a lot of writers on these newspapers that are they've got these sheets of obituaries on politicians and movie stars and famous people that are all ready to go, and they never get published until the person passes on. This program allows you to go ahead and experience all those folks and what they've done in the community prior to that, and to really get some education on these folks while they're still around. I'm doing this for my kids. The Living Legend. Don't tell the United States. It's a cool thing. You know, I, you know, I. It's a cool thing what she's doing. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't wanting to be part of it beforehand. But my kids were so excited about this, and I see the benefit of this deal now, because it's important to leave some sort of, I don't want to say legacy, but some sort of note, a little notebook. This will be a little notebook for my kids. So, thanks for doing this.